In today's chess video, you're going to learn what the Alekhine's defense is, right? What it's all about, and basically the idea behind it that might seem a little bit backwards, especially if you're new to chess. There's a number of different things that we can see against the Alekhine's defense, and we'll be covering some of those in this video as well. On top of that, the options that you have as an Alekhine's defense player against the exchange variation, if you want to go with the O'Sullivan Gambit, all that kind of fun stuff, right? And yeah, make sure to subscribe if you want to see more chess opening content. Against the move of e4 is really what we're looking at, in which case we play the move knight f6. The moment you play knight f6, you are playing the Alekhine's defense. And the most popular option is e5. Now, when I'm playing e4 and I see the Alekhine's defense, I don't like playing e5. I don't like the lines against it. I think that black has a very strong game with some strong ideas. So I personally play the move of knight c3. Now, this is the second most popular option. Really, I think e5 and knight c3 are the only two moves for white that really look to fight for any type of advantage in this game. And against this, there's different things that you can do. I mean, you can play a move like, e5 here, right? You can play a move like d6, going into a pierced defense kind of setup. You could also play the move of d5, right? Going for the Scandinavian variation of the Alekhines. And the idea here, look, if white wants to take, we'll capture back. Easy game there. If white wants to push, we're going to push too. If you take our knight, guess what? We're going to take yours. And if you capture on g7, we don't want to take on b2, right? Because white is ahead in this race. We want to take on d2 with check, right? And okay, if the bishop captures back, we'll take on g7. If the queen takes, we'll throw in another check, capture on g7, maybe play a move like bishop f5 here, and we have, pretty close to equality in a game like this. The better endgame player is going to pull this one out. And I think if you really study this position in depth, you look at master and grandmaster games, you plug it into Stockfish, you play this position against Stockfish and see what both sides, the ideas behind both sides there, I think you're going to find yourself with the advantage in prep that can help you win more games in this kind of line. But let's cover the move e5. In that case, we're playing knight d5. Okay, this is the best move. You could play knight g8 with the Brooklyn variation if you're trying to troll someone like Magnus Carlsen. But yeah, I mean, knight d5 there is objectively the best move. And you could see the move of c4 here. Now, oftentimes this actually kind of just transposes into the same kind of position. d4 is the main move here, in which case we play the move of d6 most of the time. You can play b5, and this is the O'Sullivan Gambit. This is not sound. This is not going to work against Magnus Carlsen. But it can work against a lot of people. And, let's say white takes on b5. We can play c5 here. There's a bunch of traps. One of them is if white captures, we throw in a check. This bishop is hanging, y'all. The bishop's hanging. If you play knight c3, we capture. Guess what? The bishop is hanging again. And, you might see c3 here. And it seems like, okay, we win the bishop, but then we lose our knight. What's the point? Well, we now have bishop b7. And the moment you move your queen, we're capturing on g2. Now, don't pre-move this, right? That'd be a bad pre-move because you could see something like queen b3. And you don't want to have this pre-moved because then you're going to lose your queen. In that case, we obviously want to trade and then take on g2. But on top of winning that pawn, this rook's done. The rook's done. White can resign this game if they want to. So d4, right? The b5 is a fun option that you have with the O'Sullivan Gambit. I know Eric Rosen has dropped a bunch of content on that. I as well have made a little bit of content on that. So I'll leave a link to a video down below if you want to learn some more traps out of the O'Sullivan Gambit. But okay, d6 here is the best move. And okay, let's say we see a move like c4. We can play knight b6. If white captures, this is the exchange variation. And you have a big decision to make here as an Alekhine's defense player. I recommend trying out both. I recommend studying both and just trying to learn what you prefer the most. There's this move of, the move of c takes on d6, which at the master and grandmaster level is slightly more popular. Okay, it's very close in terms of how often these moves are played, even at the top levels. By the way, queen takes d6, guys, don't even think about this. Okay, c5, this is just not fun. Okay, it's just not. Sure, we can save our knight by throwing in a check, but then bishop e2. What's our queen doing out there? I don't know. So really you want to think about, okay, do I want to take with the e pawn or with the c pawn? First off, c takes d6, right? This is a move, right? This is a solid move. This is a strong move. As y'all can see, we have 5 connected pawns, which is very nice. Can white trample the Alekhine's defense? No. Right? In that case, we capture off a queen, we play knight 6, d7. And this is kind of the idea behind the Alekhine's defense that might seem a little bit backwards, especially if you're new to chess, right? Why are we giving white all these pawn moves? Why are we giving them all the space? Why are we letting them kick our knight with pawns? Well, it turns out the more you push your pawns in chess, if you keep pushing them farther and farther and farther and farther, you're the one that actually ends up being the one who's the bigger target. Your position's more exposed, your king's more exposed. Oftentimes, by pushing all those pawns, you've neglected your piece development. And in this case, c5, this is on our side of the board. Sure, white has space, quote unquote with this pawn, but really this is just a big old target. If you see bishop e3, let's play e5, go after that pawn. If b4, let's go after this pawn chain right away. a3 ain't gonna get it done because we capture on b4. Thank you for the rook on a1. If you push, we win the pawn on c5. If you capture, we can take on c5 here, and I mean, you got double isolated pawns. a5 is extremely weak. If you move this bishop defending it, which is, by the way, the only piece that can, f2 is a pawn that we could just capture off right there. And yeah, I mean, this is simply losing for the white side if we play this correctly. We're sitting at even material. We're going to go up a pawn in the endgame, and that's what decides most endgames at the top levels. One pawn, right? One pawn. So e takes c6 again. We can't play the move c takes d6, and c5 is, you know, a move there that doesn't work. What I will say here is that white tends to be, even in online chess, white tends to be pretty well prepared for this line for whatever reason. Okay, I mean, knight c3, right? This is what white should do, and most of the time they do it. Knight c3, bishop e3, rook c1, b3, right? Getting this rook the heck out of that line of fire, because this bishop is a strong minor piece, and they're really looking to support this pawn on c4 because we have a bunch of pressure on it. We play the move e5. Different things white can do here, but they'll often capture, take our queen, play c5, make that space. And there's different things that we could see here from white. I mean, you know, bishop c4 is one of the moves. We could also see something like knight to e4. I think knight f3 is also a very strong option. Probably knight f3 and bishop c4 are the two strongest moves here for white. But yeah, I mean, this is a fine position for black, right? I will say that if you study this position in depth, if you like playing it, go for it. But you are going to see this position quite a bit according to the stats. Now, of course, it depends on your level. If you're a beginner chess player, you might not see this position all that much. If you're intermediate or advanced, you're probably going to see it all the time. Whereas I feel like against the move after e takes d6, if we capture back with our e-pawn, white just tends to not know exactly how to respond to this quite as well, right? It tends to be a little bit under-prepped for the white side. So let's just look at the most popular options that we see in online chess. Knight c3, okay, bishop e7. This is one advantage of taking with the pawn. We play bishop e7 and we get to castle very quickly, right? We don't have to fianchetto our bishop there. Now, of course, we don't have a fianchetto bishop, but we can move our bishop to f6 at some point. If we see a move like bishop d3 here, the most popular move, which I don't think is, you know, super alarming or anything for the black side, we see castling kingside, knight c6. As y'all can see, we have a bunch of pressure on both of these pawns. And, you know, if white pushes either one of them, their position, they're going to end up overextending and their position is going to get weaker. Bishop e3 is often played here, bishop f6. And this is why I don't play the move e5, right? It's positions like this where, okay, my knight is pinned. We have two attackers on d4, right? Our pawn on c4 is also attacked. Most players from the white side play d5, but now knight e5 is played. Again, that knight is pinned and it has an extra attacker on it. c4, two attackers on it. This is a beautiful position from the black side. And, you know, bishop e2 is often played here, but in that case, okay, we just won a pawn. We're up a pawn here, guys, with great activity. A very safe king. We really can't complain about much in a position like this. And what if white plays a move like b3, just trying to hang on to everything, trying to hold everything together? Well, b3 just doesn't do that. We capture on f3 with check. And the moment you capture back bishop h3, guess what? Your rook's attacked and your knight on c3 is hanging. We're about to go at material, and because of that, we're winning this position. So as y'all can see, going back to the move e takes d6, white going into the exchange variation, I tend to prefer the move of e takes d6. Now, that said, that's just my preference. I don't think one of these is the wrong answer. I don't even think one of them is the right answer over another. But what I will say is that e takes d6 tends to be, a little bit more mysterious from the white side. White seems to have a harder time knowing what to do against it. And as y'all know, on this channel, I'm a big fan of, kind of underrated rare chess opening options to get that advantage in prep. That's how I hit the National Master title by, playing nothing but the hippopotamus defenses, white and black. So yeah, I mean, that's my preference, but let me know down below what you think. Do you like taking with the e-pawn or do you like taking with the c-pawn and getting to fianchetto your bishop? Either option is completely fine. Either option is very strong. Quick reminder as well, so I just released an over 6-hour course in the Check Pierce Defense. There is less than a week to get that 30% off discount code. If you want to get 30% off on that 6-hour course, all you got to do, go down to the link below in the description, plug in the discount code CheckPierce2024, and you will receive 30% off. Thank you guys, and I'll see you on the next one. Thanks for watching today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. I wanted to give a big shout out to my Patreon supporters for the month of September in 2024. I appreciate y'all a ton. It's been great getting to know you guys. And for those of you that haven't thought about joining the Patreon, there's some exclusive benefits that you gain by becoming a member. And yeah, I mean, if you guys do join, I'm excited to start talking to you guys over on the platform. On top of that, guys, here's the thing. Look, it's September. Okay, it's September. There's only so much time left to get that Check Pierce Defense course. Click the link. Click the freaking link. Plug in the discount code. Get your 30% off. Only good until the end of the month. And I'll see y'all. I'll see you on the next video. Let's get it.